Linn-Mar Board of Directors meeting will be called to order at 5 p.m. in the boardroom of the Learning Resource Center. Can you please take roll to determine a quorum?
Buckholtz. Morey.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Rollinger.
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Wall.
Here.
And Weaver.
Here.
Quorum is present.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
A motion by Rachel and a second by Sandra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are going to kick off tonight's meeting with some special recognitions. We are going to start with, we have Ginger Halverson, who's going to talk to us about the accomplishments of our Special Olympics team this year. So I will turn it over to Ginger.
Hey, you guys. Put this down. Hey, come on up, you guys. Come on in. Okay, I'm Ginger Halverson, and I've coached, can you guys hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay, I've coached Special Olympics for 16 years here at Linn-Mar, and Jan Hess, right over there, is my partner in crime. He's been with me for 6 years, and honestly, I could not do, he's phenomenal. So we brought some of our teammates here with us, and we're gonna have them introduce themselves, and then after you introduce yourself, you wanna step out here, out on the floor, all right? Would you like to go first? Hey, Jan, you wanna step up?
What's your name?
Nikita,
Nikita, what school do you go to?
Linn-Mar High School,
And what's your favorite sport?
cleaning tables,
Well,
What's your favorite Special Olympics sport?
throwing things.
Softball.
How about Jacob?
Nikita works over here during the day, so I asked her what's your favorite job, she said cleaning tables. So, hey Nikita, could you come on out here now, please?
What's your name?
My name is Katie, and I go to Linn-Mar High School, and I like swimming.
Come on. What's your name?
My name is Bradley Poyu, and I going
What school do you go to?
Border Peak
And what's your favorite sport that you do?
throwing.
And you throw softball also. Good job. Thank you. What's your name?
I'm Hunter Lau,
And what school do you go to?
Oak Ridge,
And what's your favorite sport you do? Special Olympics.
100-meter dash.
Thank you. And what's your name, sir?
James Matson.
And what school do you go to?
I'm from Oak Ridge.
Okay. And what do you participate in? What's your favorite sport?
Skiing.
Ah.
Alpine skiing.
Alpine skiing through Cedar Rapids Park and Recs, right?
And so, James does some sports with us, but athletes can do sports with Cedar Rapids Park and Rec, and he's done alpine skiing.
Thank you.
So just a little bit about Special Olympics. You know, there are some stereotypes about Special Olympics. Some people say, oh, our Special Olympians run for a hug. Well, hugs are great for everybody, but I'll be honest, when our athletes are on the line, you guys are there to win it and go for that gold medal. So it's not just this little fluff, we're going for a hug. You know, hug's great, but they really work hard, and just like any athlete in any competition goes to win. Some people ask me, well here, so our athletes compete in all different levels. We've got so many different levels, and it's so great that Special Olympics gives that opportunity to every single athlete we have can compete. If an athlete needs a switch to hit a ball down a ramp, you know, we've got competition for that. Sometimes people ask me in bowling, why don't you put the bumpers up? Well, in Special Olympics, you gotta follow the rules and do the rules of the sport. We have to make adaptations wherever we need it. We're there to compete, and if we put the bumpers up, then it's just a game of chance. And so that is what I say to people, that Special Olympics isn't a game of chance. We had a student here, Nathan Williams, who bowled with us. He also bowled on the Linn-Mar team, and if you know Nathan, you know, in his lifetime, he's bowled a perfect game. I mean, that's probably more than any of us can say. So it is great, you know, that Special Olympics offers that at every single level for competition. What we love about Special Olympics is that we can cheer on every ability. We've had students who entered into the 25-meter wheelchair race last year, and we're happy to say he's going to state at the end of May in the 100-meter wheelchair race. So we've had success using ramps. We've had athletes that then learn to aim the ramp. We've had athletes who get off the ramp and bowl independently. We cheer on all of that. We had a student I've had known for years. I entered him in the first time in the 25-meter walk, and he ran. So didn't follow the rules, just qualified. So then, okay, we're going to 50-meter dash next year. He walked and then went in every single lane. And for years, he would kind of go, you know, the lane next to me is better. And so he's not in his lane, so he's disqualified. But this year, we're proud to say that he did the 50-meter dash in his lane, and he's going to state at the end of this month. So that's really cool. We've had 57 athletes in our bowling competition this year. We had 29 athletes make it to state. We have 12 state champions in bowling. We had our area competition April 15th at Coe College. We had 31 athletes entered in different events. We've had from throwing to the 1,500-meter run to dashes to wheelchair races. We have 17 headed to state at the end of this month. The best part of coaching is just seeing the success, and it's really cool seeing parents see that success and see that how we all are so proud. And it's fun when we have meets, you know, and different events to be with parents and be with families. That's fun to celebrate what everybody has accomplished. So, but what the cool thing for Jan and I is when we go to these competitions is that we see kids who have graduated, they're alumni. And it's really cool when we see them running and throwing or bowling or, you know, we've gone skiing, that type of thing. It's really cool to know that they got their start here at Linn-Mar. And our friendships continue forever. So, but we are so proud of our athletes. I know parents are too, grandparents, siblings, we're all proud of our athletes. And we thank you for recognizing our team and supporting our team.
So people that are out in the district that are viewing this can get to see our athletes. Thank you.
And give them a big wave.
Here we go. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
All right. Our next recognition is for our contest speech team, and Kim Belt is here to give us an overview.
That's a tough act to follow. We'll let them get out so our speech kids can get in. They're all giving high fives out there to their classmates. You guys can all kind of stand in the middle there. Okay. The Linn-Mar speech team is very proud to have completed another successful season this year. They reached the all-state level for the 19th time in the past 2 decades in each of the last 8 consecutive years. So we've got just a representation here of the entire team, but the team is coached by Ann Fry, Kevin Fry, Mary Kilberg, and Lakeisha Hoffmeister. The students competed in a couple different contests. Our large group contest has 11 different categories, ranging from things like ensemble acting, group improv, mime to television broadcasting, and short film production. Things that weren't even a thing when some of us were in high school. After large group season is completed, there's a separate competition for individual performers where students can participate in 13 different categories. Those things range from things like after dinner speaking to storytelling and spontaneous speaking to radio newscasting. I've got 3 students here this evening that are going to tell you a little bit more about what they did. Freshmen Charlie Mustafi, seniors Will Shaheen and Jacqueline Anderson are here to share a little bit more. Come on up.
It was a fun year for Linn-Mar contest speech. I'm so glad I got involved as a freshman. It has taught me so much, and I'm already thinking about what I'm going to be doing next year. In contest speech, the freshmen compete as a separate team from the varsity team. So Linn-Mar actually has 2 teams performing at each contest. In the past, our freshman teams have beaten varsity teams to qualify for All-State. This year, our first district contest was in January at Benton Shells Park, where 27 students competed in 7 different categories. 4 teams qualified for state, which took place at Cedar Rapids, Washington, and 3 received top honors.
Then it was time for the contest speech season for individual performers. The district contest was held at Xavier in late February. Out of our 27 individual performers, 19 received a 1 rating and qualified for state. The state contest for individuals was held in Eldridge at North Scott High School. 11 students received top ratings from the judges. 2 of our individual performers were nominated to perform at the All-State Festival at UNI on March 27th. Sabin Jones was awarded for her public address presentation, and Abigail Richard was recognized for her public speaking skills in the category of radio broadcasting.
The high school contest speech team is grateful to its feeder program, LMTV, at each middle school. It is coordinated by teacher librarians Beth Nelson and Stephanie Kelsey. With their help, students build confidence as they transition to high school, as they are exposed to 6 years of solid public speaking experience. LMTV at the high school is wrapping up its 20th year and celebrating over 3,000 newscasts and 1,600 subscribers on its YouTube channel. LMTV writers and producers generate positive content about our district and is shared throughout the Linn-Mar community in cooperation with the District Communications Office. LMTV graduates are gainfully employed by all 3 local news stations. Others have gone on to utilize their speaking skills in medical, legal, PR, and countless other professional occupations here in Iowa and across the country.
The motto of the Iowa High School Speech Association sums it up best. No other form of activity is any more important than that of learning to communicate effectively.
We couldn't agree more. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys can come in front this way. And I recognize a lot of them from LMTV because I get LMTV every morning. So I see a lot of you guys.
And honestly, a lot of the LMTVers do contest speech as well, which is really pretty cool.
Thank you guys.
Congratulations. Thank you.
So next up in informational reports, we have Angela Burke, our Community Services Coordinator, to give a report on our community service activities for the year.
Another tough act to follow. I did not participate in All-State speech and am not a state-winning speech giver. But here we go. My name is Angela Burke, and I'm the Community Relations Coordinator here at Linn-Mar, and I am thankful that you gave me the opportunity to come and tell you a little about what our volunteers are doing in our buildings. So, first of all, how do volunteers get started off in the process of volunteering at Linn-Mar? All of our volunteers can go and find our Linn-Mar volunteer application on the website. So once they fill out the application, they indicate if they are a returning volunteer, so everybody fills it out every year, or if they're a new volunteer interested in getting involved in the district. From there, we take their information, and if they are brand new, we put them through a background screening process and invite them to come to meet with me one-on-one for a face-to-face orientation. It's a 30-minute session. They come in, they meet with me, and I find out a little bit more about them, what they're interested in volunteering in, how they want to get involved, what some of their skills are, their strengths are, so we can better take them and match them with the opportunities that they're excited about, opportunities that they want to participate in, and get them in the schools that they will find success in. Once we do that face-to-face orientation and we put them through that screening process and we found that they are good to work with our children and youth at Linn-Mar, we then add them onto that school distribution list, which goes out to each of our volunteer coordinators in our building. And then they typically receive about weekly communication about those opportunities that are available. So we have coordinators at each of our building levels that I couldn't do my job without. So these amazing individuals this year have volunteered their time and their service to be kind of the liaison at each of the buildings to find those opportunities that are available. So they meet with our building admin, with our teachers, and they find the opportunities that our volunteers can then get involved with. So they take that information, they put it into nice little concise paragraphs to put out to our volunteers to make it easy for our volunteers to get actively involved and to sign up for the opportunities that best work for them. They normally use like a signup.com sort of deal to make sure that the volunteers can look, see if it's something that fits into their schedule and easily get signed up. So these amazing people, like I said, all volunteer their time and do an amazing job at what they do. This year, this number fluctuates by the day, so it's already bothering me that this is like last week's information, but we have 1,475 approved volunteers for our district this year. So a lot of people that want to get involved, a lot of people that want to get in there and see what's happening in our schools and help make a difference. The total hours that they have logged, keep in mind that that's those that have remembered to log their time, they have logged 16,782 hours of time in our district this year. You'll see right there at the top, materials and workshop. So each of our elementary buildings does have a monthly volunteer workshop, and at those workshops what we do is we go back to those educators and we say, what can we take off your shoulders? What can we cut out for you? What can we trace? What Christmas ornaments can we prepare for you to make your nights and your weekends easier? So they have some of those things that they don't have to do, and we help take those materials on for them. That number is pretty high this year, in all honesty, because the other task that we undertook was every time that there's a new curriculum that comes on board, there is also lots of support to make sure that that curriculum is implemented. So with that new math curriculum came lots of new little math manipulatives and flashcards to help with the students with the games that they're playing in the classrooms and those activities. So I'm sure out on your board visits you've seen them with the little cards that are in the little plastic baggies. Our volunteers have spent countless hours this year helping to make those and prepare those. Second there is student interaction, and that's really what the majority of our volunteers want to be involved in. They want to get in there, they want to see their students, they want to work with the students, they want to help make a difference in how our children are learning. So they get involved in small group activities, one-on-one activities, and lots of activities there as well. PTO support is ranking there number 3. Lots of those after-school activities and the fun events are back this year. So your school carnivals and the sock hops and everything that we haven't been able to hold these last few years with COVID, we've been back full-time this year, all year. And the PTOs are ramping up and getting that support and putting in a lot of those support hours to make those activities fun for our community members and our families to get involved in again. And then you may or may not be surprised there that vocal music and show choir is ranking number 4. So when you have a nationally award-winning show choir team, you also have nationally award-winning volunteers that are supporting those endeavors. So we've had lots of support there with a lot of our music, our band. We have students doing amazing things, and we have great parental and community support behind those activities, helping to make those activities a success. There's lots of other areas that you'll see there as well. The lunchroom, helping those kiddos open the milk cartons and all those things that you remember seeing volunteers do as well. In the fall, I know many of you participated in this event as well, but this is a big volunteer event each year. We hold our America Reads Day, and we contact all of the teachers and we say, we're gonna bring in community readers, and we are going to share the love and joy of reading with your students. How many readers would you like to come into your classroom? So we were given the task of filling 565 spots this year, and we did that. So we, with the help of 405 volunteers, we went in and we filled all 565 of those slots and read and shared fun memories of reading with all of those kiddos. So some of these people here were some of the fan favorites. Any fireman and police officer and EMT, those first responders are really a joy for the kids to see, so those are a lot of fun. And then you find your local celebrities like Elizabeth Von Presley, Captain Crunch, of course, who doesn't love Captain Crunch, Rory the Lion, and we even had some American Ninja Warriors join us, which was fun for the kids to kind of learn about that. So lots of fun happening there. Encourage a Reader is another undertaking that we do each year. We contact the teachers in the fall and say, hey, do you have a few kiddos in your class that could maybe benefit from being paired with a one-on-one volunteer to help your students read? So sometimes it might be a child who just needs a little bit of a push, an extra push with reading. Maybe sometimes it's a kiddo that doesn't necessarily read one-on-one at home. Or sometimes it's a kiddo that actually needs to be challenged a little bit more in the area of reading, and we can partner them with a person that will go in and meet with them once a week. So we have 115 students placed with a volunteer reader this year, and those volunteers then go in once a week and read with those kiddos for 15 to 20 minutes at a time. It's a lot of fun, and they are each given a video training that is provided by Carla Reese. She did a recording this year, and it helps provide them with some of the current techniques that are being used in the classrooms, the reading curriculum that's being used, and some of the current practices, because we have a lot of even retired reading teachers, grandparents out there that get involved, but this helps make sure that the information that they're teaching and how they're teaching it is relevant to what's currently happening in our classrooms right now. We're also currently at the end of our volunteer appreciation season. So Volunteer Appreciation Week was officially April 16th through the 21st. And during that time, we kind of started off and we go into each of our elementary buildings and we do a volunteer recognition event. This picture there at the bottom is at Echo Hill. And a lot of those events are music educators support the events, and they teach the kids amazing and beautiful songs that no doubt almost make me cry at every single event, with the exception of Novak, where we actually went in and we got to square dance with the kids, which was a lot of fun as well. So the volunteers actively engage and are shown appreciation from the educators, from myself, from the administration team as well, about the time that they've given to the district. And then coming up is our 100-hour volunteer celebration later this May, where we celebrate any volunteer who's given 100 hours or more of their time throughout the year. And here's just a quick glimpse into what our volunteers are doing on a daily basis. So they transform our environments and make our schools into gingerbread homes. They paint kiddos' feet to make reindeer shirts. They help set up the Opera Iowa scene. They do the daily laminating and things like that need to be done. Cutting those flashcards, support our kids during the math counts and other educational endeavors. PTO takes around the fun treats and gives the teachers a little gift of appreciation during fun times throughout the year. Our Supernova, which is a huge event here at Linn-Mar that really supports show choir and so much more. The classroom parties that the kids have a lot of fun with. And then you even have the volunteers that take projects home and find a use for their bandsaws to cut our math flashcards. So volunteers do a lot within our schools, outside of our schools, all over to make sure that they are supporting our district. So that's all I have, a quick glimpse of what's happening in the volunteer world, and I offer up any opportunities for questions that you might have.
No questions?
Just thank you for all you do and for all the volunteers who care enough to come and help our students.
They love the time, they appreciate the opportunity to get in the classrooms and they really do appreciate it. So they were excited to be back for their first time this year, all year in the building. So it's been a great year.
I know for a fact that the teachers really appreciate the volunteers because there's so many diverse ways to use the volunteers that can save their time and efforts to for their students, that if they have to spend a little bit more time with their student or whatever, the teacher, it allows them to do that. You know, it's a great tradition at Linn-Mar, and glad to see that it's growing and it's back, because I guarantee you, every teacher that's had a volunteer appreciates them immensely because of all the stuff that they can do. And I know it's repetitive, but to give them time to do some other things that they've always wanted to do but not maybe have the time to do it, and the volunteers give them that time to do that. So it's really fantastic.
I talk to all the volunteers as they come in about the benefits of volunteering, and that's one of them, allowing the time for more educators to focus on education while they're in the classroom and helping to provide additional support.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
I have one
We
quick
appreciate
question.
it.
You mentioned the background screenings for volunteers. I'm curious if there's a time frame for how long that's effective before, if or when you rescreen volunteers.
So each year we ask everybody to redisclose any information that may be on their background check, and so we're doing a recheck every year. So that's why even returning volunteers do apply each year to update their information.
Do we run those? Does Linn-Mar run those, or do we just ask for them to disclose?
Yeah, so we ask for self-disclosure, but then we're also checking any like public records
Okay.
checks in addition to the sex offender registry.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank Angela as well. This is her first year in this position, but you wouldn't know it by how her presentation tonight or how the year has gone overall. It's just been a fantastic transition. So thank you for your commitment to this program and for helping our schools.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Angela.
Great work. All right, next up, we have the Venture Academics Advisory. Sandra, you have an update for us?
Yes. Both Barry and I attended that on April 27th, and it was, you know, like anything about venture, it's just, I smile the whole time. It makes me invigorated. Some information about this next year. Students coming and that have applied to be a part of this in the high school, 245 registered for next year. Major obstacles for being able to be a part of this venture academics is scheduling, because it needs a 180-minute block, and so some things only are given at certain times during the day, so they have to work around it. One thing I thought was interesting, I believe for next year at this point, I think they said 100 freshmen have signed up to be a part of it, especially in the earth and life science part. So they're gearing up for that and how they might do it differently. There was some discussion at our advisory committee of, are there things that should be thought about when working with freshmen as opposed to juniors and seniors, which is what most of the students that are a part of this are, just to make sure that they have the skills they need to be able to participate and do well and all of that. So I thought it was interesting too, just in a short order, that Mark Hutchinson shared that when they strive to be at the advanced level when they're working with the students and all the things that they do. They begin with recall and comprehension, application, then and transfer to the real world, but they try to really concentrate on the application and transfer part and give basic recalls and just kind of information, but have the students investigate some of that on their own too. And one of the really great things that happened this last year, any of you that attended the Medco Luncheon saw 3 of the students that at our advisory committee, they practiced what they were going to say and do for the Medco, and they basically talked about their involvement in making a project. It was new literature for Rinderneck construction and all the different things that they had to do and skills they had to learn and use. I thought it was really interesting that of the three that spoke, one young man said that he is so used to doing a lot of his design by himself, and he didn't really ever have to think of others. He would get an idea and go with it. And he said he learned how valuable a team is and how you can use it to your advantage. And I thought it was interesting, a comment that a couple of the students made, that they learned to give feedback, that they were honest, but they also learned to be kind, because when they have it coming from their friends or others, it's important. They learn that. So lots of good things going on. I love this program. It is growing quite a bit quickly, and I just advise any parent who is just getting their kids into the high school to encourage them to investigate it at some point during their career. If they try it and it's not for them, that's fine. But they may actually really thrive in that situation. So I just want to encourage that. So enough for me, but because I'm enthusiastic about it, it's hard to not say more. So I will stop.
Any questions for Sandra? Well, we'll move right on into the Medco Luncheon, as Sandra mentioned. Several of us were able to attend. Does anyone have anything they want to share?
Yeah, I was extremely impressed with the Venture Kids. There were several hundred people there from many, many different businesses in the Marion area, and to see them get up there, and they were asked questions, and how they did it, they were all very articulate. You know, it's like they had, well, I've done this a million times, so it's no big deal. There weren't a lot of ands and uhs and buts. It's very articulate. They were in front of the whole group of all these businessmen. The Medco meeting seems to get bigger and bigger, and the reason it gets bigger and bigger is because more and more businesses are coming in to Marion and see what Marion has to offer. And I almost didn't find the place because I only expected maybe 2 buildings or 3 buildings out there past the police station or the Linn-Mar bus barn, and all of a sudden there's these huge, huge buildings going up like crazy. I know Foster Krause, they made a point for that. That building is, I think, 80,000 square feet. The Foster here in town now that is sold is 8,000 square feet, but they're bringing in their groups from Monticello and Anamosa to here in Marion. And the nice thing about it, I do believe that's in the Linn-Mar district. So there's some nice things after they get done with the TIF stuff, but it's just exploding out there. And, you know, everybody's coming from different walks of life. It was good to see some of Linn-Mar former students. And it was nice that our superintendent got an award. Okay? So, and I think he was more surprised than anybody. But he held himself really good up there on the stage because he didn't know what was going on. He said, I'm up here, but now I get an award. But it just shows you
Nick's heads up on that.
Huh?
I appreciated Nick Glue giving me a heads up, which he did not do.
Okay. No, which he didn't, yeah. And it just goes to show you how many different people make up our community and how many businesses are thriving. Some of the names that I saw in some of the buildings, to be quite honest, I have no clue what they do. You know, but their name is up there, and it's growing, and you know, I think it's great for the city of Marion. It's always nice to go out there and see how things are going. And as one person put it, he says, I did not have a clue that our community was growing that fast and in that direction. So it was really neat.
Only thing I want to add is just that, you know, it just reinforces that Marion's a great place to live. It's growing, there's lots of people working together to make it a wonderful place to live. And I think we're really lucky that our school district is located here. That's all I have to say.
Medco's a great group to work with. They're great business owners and leaders, but also just great community supporters as well too. So really a great group of people, and it's an organization to work with throughout the year, and especially at this time of year as well.
I think it highlighted, you know, they had several different presentations on what was going on, but we were part of most of it. Whether it was Shannon getting recognized for his board leadership on the Medco board, or the venture strand, but our community build kids were also recognized. They talked a lot about the community build project and the partnership with Suburban Lumber, and there was a nice video about that, but they invited all of our students and the Marion Independent students to come, and they had the kids stand up and everyone applauded them. That second community build house closed the day after our luncheon, and they've already purchased the land, and they're going to do a brand new construction on the 3rd, so next year's community build students are going to get new construction experience. And I just think it's important to recognize that our partnerships with Medco increase the opportunities that our students have, because the more that we partner with Medco and the businesses in our community, and the more aware they are of our programs like Venture. You know, Rinder Connect was part of that panel talking about, I think it says a lot when a business like, well, any business really puts their marketing trust in students. The kids they weren't just designing a brochure, it was the brochure that they hand out to potential customers to convince them to let them do their construction. That's a big deal, and our kids got to do that, and that's huge experience. The opportunities that are growing in our district because of our community and our relationships are profound, and I think it's just an amazing opportunity, and I hope that we continue to foster that. I know Amy's going to take your spot on the board after you retire, and so I look forward to those continued relationships. Next up, we have our board visit to Lynn Grove, which was our last one of the year. Anyone want to share?
I just really like going to these things like all of us do. When we get there, the thing that surprises me sometimes the most is that these 4th graders that are given the tours, to me, are extremely mature for a 4th grader, and they know exactly what they're going to do, what they're supposed to say. They introduce themselves, which is not always the easiest thing, especially with people that they don't know. And they take us around to all the rooms. Always the thing that I like is that in every room that we went to, the students were engaged. And I think that says a lot for the teacher. It says that for a lot of the kids. Different types of learning situations, depending on their age. But the creativity that they have, and that the fact that these kids, hey, they'll offer an opinion. You know, they'll say it like it is. And, you know, like somebody was talking, when I was that age, you couldn't get kids to talk at all. You know, they thought, I don't want to be sent to the principal's office. So, you know, it's just one of those things that how the kids have grown. And the kids take a lot of pride in what they do. And the nice thing about it, you can't go through any of those hallways without seeing something displayed, you know, on the walls in the hallway. Either the hearts or pictures of them, and honors that they get. And being married to an art teacher, that is just the greatest thing, is to have kids' work displayed. And when we got done, under the tunnel of kindness, they had the pictures of all the kids, and the one that one of the young ladies that Matt and I had, she says, "Come on over here to this other side. This is my little sister. she's in kindergarten. Now come on over here, and this is me when I got my picture. And it was a lot of fun. There was one young lady that wasn't in my group. She made a point that she wanted to say something to every board member. And I thought, whoa, we got a young diplomat here. And but it was fun, and she wasn't going to leave until she had an opportunity to at least say hi. And so they're always fun to go to. Never ceases to amaze me how the kids can react and the quality and the things that they're doing. They're doing some things in there that I wasn't doing in high school. And it was, it's a good statement for our district when we get to observe that as board members. It's one of the highlights of being on the school board, is to be able to go and see those little ones do their thing.
Unfortunately sick, and I miss it. I'm really bummed because Lynn Grove was like the school that my kids grew up in. I was so looking forward to being there. So.
All of the staff and the students, especially the students that showed us around. It was truly a student-led tour of the school. So that was really neat to see, especially being 3rd, 4th grade. They did a fantastic job. But to the staff there for allowing us to come in, I know it's disruptive, especially those kindergarten classes where, it doesn't take a lot to pull attention away, but they did a really good job of, keeping the students on track and really showing us what they do. So I appreciate every tour we get to take.
The only thing I'll add is there's a special place in heaven for kindergarten teachers. I don't know what they do with all that energy, but if I could bottle it, I would be a millionaire. And I was super impressed as somebody with atrocious time management skills that our tour guides, man oh man, they were watching their watches, they were keeping us moving at a pace, and it was a good time. It always is.
Just to add with that, I just love being escorted by the students and enjoying their interactions and the things that they think are important for us to see at the school, and the way they sell their school, I think, is a good way. And it's fun to, great staff, and it's fun to have reunions with a past student teacher or so, and neighborhood students who are like, hey, and they see you in a different situation, and then they can't decide, should they call you by your first name or should they be more official? And those who really think they know you, they just go with the first name and keep on going. So it's all good. But it's just great to be there and be a part of things. So thank you, Lynn Grove.
That's it. Moving on to Marion City Council, Matt.
Yep. I did go back to the April 20th since I think I missed that one.
Since you were voluntold about it, Matt.
I was
Kind of like that.
There wasn't a lot, really anything specific to Linn-Mar in the April 20th meeting. They were discussing a little bit of their strategic plan for the city, which is interesting. We're doing ours and they're doing theirs. And, obviously being part of the community, we are part of that plan, but there was nothing specifically discussed. The May 4th meeting, mostly the same, not a lot. The only time Linn-Mar was brought up is there were some community concerns in regards to a business that is being proposed on Tower Terrace, just north of the high school. There's some concerns with safety and property values, that sort of stuff. Just something to keep in mind, I guess, to see what's going on with that. But other than that, there was no other Linn-Mar news.
Business related to the school?
I honestly don't know. The person from the community, it was just during open time to speak, stated that they will be bringing more information to the city on their concerns, but they wanted to just make it known that they do have some concerns. What they were, there was no specifics.
Do you know what the business was?
Dollar Tree, I believe.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you for doing that. Both of them.
No problem.
Next up, we have our legislative report. Session is done.
We made it.
There's an update.
There's the report.
So I'll let Shannon go over some of the updates.
Yeah, this is obviously an active session from the beginning to the end. There's a lot to unpack now that everything is official. As you guys know, there's so many bills that kept changing and evolving from the House to the Senate to the compromise version. So what happens now is, now that everything is wrapped up from the session, the bills, they go to the governor. She has 30 days to sign them or not. So we get a little bit of lag time there to see how some of those play out. And also in the meantime, this is a really important time for us to kind of slow down for us to get a chance to go through it and understand what is all there. And then also to kind of wait for the updates that we'll get from the DE. They always provide updates for us as far as interpretation or the rules that come along with some of the laws as well that really help to clarify some of the technicalities. And then IASB and SAI, School Administrators of Iowa, will come out with recommendations at some point as well. So those pieces of updates for us will be really important to help us move forward in our planning. I did print off for you at your table the UAN legislative update. I could have summarized this for you, but they did such a better job than I could, and all the details that are there. We won't go through all of this because it's several pages long, but I thought you might enjoy looking through those. Some will be very familiar to you, and some will be a little bit of changes than what you had already seen as well. Couple things that we talked about, I wanted to mention, I think this one's in the UAN update, but we also got an update today from Allers and Cooney about House File 718. The piece specifically related to Linn-Mar is the Pearl. We've talked about that before. We're not sure where that was going to, if we'll be allowed to keep our Pearl levy going forward or not. And the way the current law is now written, and hopefully will be signed, elections to Pearl are no longer allowed, but if you have a Pearl in place like we do, and I think 28 or 29 other schools in Iowa do, you can keep that levy. So that's where things stand as of right now. That had kind of gone back and forth, a few different options. So reminder for everybody, the Pearl levy we used to really for our playground equipment, recreation funds. The track that was built out of Oak Ridge with partnership with the city is one example of that. Our tennis court project, those are Pearl funds. So anytime we build something with Pearl, it's a benefit to the school, but it's also one we always try to make sure with the city, some opportunities for them to use as well, so kind of a win-win. So I feel like I'm missing one other one. At-risk funding. That one, help me in the wording of this, that basically it's been sent to a subcommittee or a committee of some sort that will be asked to put together some
Sort of.
information by the end of the
bill
calendar year,
itself
basically.
didn't move. It never moved out of committee, but they have assigned a task force to look at the at-risk dropout prevention funding system, and they are supposed to have their report submitted by December 31st in time to be reevaluated for the bill for the next session, which will open January 2024. A reminder that all bills, if it's dead this session, it's still technically alive for next session. So the dropout prevention at-risk funding policy isn't dead forever. It will be alive next session in January. So my interpretation is that someone in the committee wanted more information before they pushed the bill forward, so they assigned a task force to dig into it, and that report will be due before the next session starts. And then hopefully, I don't know, that report will show that it's a good idea to be more equitable and that we can move our funding up to 5% at some point. But I know we've talked a lot about that because we're stuck at 2.5%. So it didn't pass, but it looks like there is, want to call it progress? I don't know. A task force to me might be progress. They're going to keep talking about it. So,
Shannon, I had a question on the Pearl funds. I thought that there was an amount of time until we had to have another election. How many years do we have yet?
For PEPL and instructional support levy and bond, those do have a time frame. Pearl does not.
Pearl is just continues if
until
we
the board
have one?
decide to take another action on that.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Any questions about the UEN update or anything you want us to dig more into? We're supposed to
Yeah.
get the first primer on like recommendations in June, so we'll see what happens then. The last legislative kind of thing I wanted to mention, so we talked a lot about the special education funding. Senator Joni Ernst was holding a town hall in Anamosa on Saturday morning, so I had some time and I went. My name never got drawn, so I didn't get to ask my question like in the group, but I did get to talk to her for a minute at the end of it, and I just asked her where to start, because it's a federal funding thing. So I have a business card now and an email address, and there's a help committee, and then appropriations. Because it's already a law that's passed, it doesn't have to, it's not a new bill, it just the funds have to be appropriated. And so the appropriations committee in both the House and the Senate have like 30 members, and there are subcommittees for education. So we'll email and we'll see if we can get some conversations going. But I had some time on Saturday, and somehow it popped up that there was a town hall, and I was like, well, that's only 20 minutes. I can go to Anamosa for an hour. So, so we have a name now, and we have a contact. So
Thank you for
she
doing
did
that.
say that it comes up every year, but it doesn't, like, someone talks about it every year, but it doesn't really go anywhere. So I'm not saying that because we're going to talk about it, it's going to go anywhere, but we'll at least give it a shot. So I wanted to share that.
The more people that talk about it, the more likely it is that it'll go somewhere. So might as well be us continuing to add to the bubble. Thanks.
I think all we had on legislative.
So for now, stay tuned. There'll be more, even though the session's over, there will definitely be more information to come on the implications for us moving forward.
Well, and the governor hasn't signed everything yet, so there could also be shifts there if, who knows, so. All right, your report.
Update, a couple things. I'll start with transition, since I'm definitely in that mode right now with everything. Amy Courtmeyer was here last week on May 2nd on Tuesday for a full day. It's great to have her here again, and I'm really pleased we're able to have these type of transition opportunities. I think it's good for everybody, including Amy, especially for Amy. In addition to meeting with me on the 2nd, she completed her visits to the remaining elementary schools that she had not been to yet, so she's now been to all 7 elementaries. She met with cabinet members individually, and then finished her day with Britt and Clark. So we had her scheduled pretty heavy, and her upcoming visits will be very similar. She planned to come next Tuesday on the 16th again for a full day. Plan to have her attend the Medco board meeting with me that morning, so I can make some introductions there and get her acclimated with that group. We'll begin visiting her secondary schools, and we also have a meeting with OPN scheduled as well that day, so she'll have another busy day scheduled as well. I think the process is going very well. She'll definitely be ready to roll on July 1st, so I think that has been helpful, and I hope she would think the same thing. So we keep scheduling things for upcoming visits, and I think she's planning to be here. I know she's planning to be here for the next board meeting at that time as well. So construction, just one simple little update. Our tennis court project I told you had started. Went back out there again today, and I was curious to see after all the rain we got over the weekend how that was looking, and they were going at it in a big time way. There are lots of tiling and underground work being done, so I was glad to see that. That project is moving along nicely. And then just finally, just one accomplishment that we did not get because it happened over the weekend, so it did not get into our update for the board packet. But we had about 700 music students from Linn-Mar participated in the High School Music Association State Large Group Festival, which is at Cedar Rapids, Washington this past weekend. All 17 of our curricular performance ensembles participated, which I think is great to begin with. And many of the students performed in multiple of those groups. Out of those performances, 13 of our ensembles earned a Division I superior rating. So incredible quality and quantity as well too. So really cool opportunity for the different groups of our fine arts group to work together, and logistics of transportation and custodial staff to pull everything together for that many groups to perform was really cool. So congratulations to our musicians and our staff that made that happen.
Shannon.
Any questions for Shannon? Right, moving on to new business.
Move to approve a 3% total package increase for the part-time nutrition services staff for fiscal year 2023-24.
Second.
Motion by Rachel and a second by Clark. Any discussion?
We are in negotiation season, so this is our first settlement to bring towards for you, and we'll continue to work through the other groups upcoming weeks as well.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to approve the fundraising request as presented in Exhibit 602.1.
Second.
By Melissa and a second by Rachel. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Make a motion to approve the open enrollment request as presented.
By Clark and a second by Sandra. All those in, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Melissa and a second by Rachel. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This is to communications. So I just have two things. First, I wanted to share that I was able to go to the closing night performance of Les Miserables, and 1.5 songs in and you would not have known that they were high school students. So once again, we had community members that have no ties to Linn-Mar that came because they heard that it was a stellar performance, and I'm continually amazed by what our students are able to do, and that was not a high school production. So parents, students, staff, it was amazing. So I just wanted to kind of shout out the cast and the crew and the pit orchestra, and it was phenomenal. So didn't get to see it. I'm really sorry. I wish they'd done 2 weekends. I would have gone back immediately. The other thing I wanted to share, I sent you guys an email last week about some upcoming board professional development. That was something that we had put in our board goals. And so there is a webinar coming up on Monday the 15th that would get you 1 credit, and it's the keynote from the Student Summit and that IASB put together, and lots of information on student learning and engagement for student achievement. So I thought that might be something that if you're able to attend, it's over the lunch hour, so you can register for that. But in meeting our board goal, we talked about, after the ISB conference, looking at the board awards. We are almost there, where most of us are 3 credits shy, and then a couple are 6, and then it was, so working through the math on that, we had talked about doing some professional development through the superintendent evaluation. So I'm going to send that out, and that will be our work session at our next board meeting on the 22nd, and luckily Amy is going to be part of that board meeting, so she'll be able to be here and kind of listen to our conversations about that evaluation supplement. But that will take the majority of the board through full credit. And when we go through, there's, it's an ISB designed video series. So there's 2 videos I'll send out that if you can watch those ahead of time, that will prepare us for that conversation. And then the actual work session, it's called the 7 Actions for Effective Superintendent Evaluation and the Promises and Pitfalls. So it'll take about an hour. And I think that will put us all in a really good place to, when Amy comes on board, setting those first-year goals with her and going through that evaluation is different for a first-year superintendent. So we'll need to be looking at all of the standards for the superintendency and not just 3 or 4. So I think that this PD will really set us up for success in entering into that new era with Amy. So I wanted to kind of give you a heads up.
Can you clarify how many hours that one is?
The superintendent, so the 2 webinars will give you 1 credit each.
Okay.
And then our session, I believe it's going to give us 2. So that would be a 4 credit total. So.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to email out the links and everything, but I wanted to share that and then ask if anyone has questions about that as I'm going through the ISB stuff to get it set up for next time. I'd be happy to go over that. more to come on that. I'll get you the links. And then if you do the one on the 15th, let me know so I can add it to the tally. I'm keeping track of where we're at on the numbers. So if you do it, great, and just let me know. If not, no big deal. Just thought it was an opportunity that was available. So that's all I have on communications. Anyone else have anything to share? So in looking at the calendar, I think we're good on city council through, does anyone want to volunteer for June 22nd? And we have Rachel doing the 18th and I'm doing the 8th. And Barry. Give that one.
We're going to voluntold.
Yeah, we're going to voluntold Barry for June 22nd.
We'll make sure to get that in a minute.
That's what happens when you're absent, right?
Right. And then there is going to be one on July 6th, which I know is a tricky week sometimes for people with travel. So July's a long way away, it seems, but it'll be here before we know it. Does anyone want to volunteer for July 6th?
I'll be around to do it. I'll be around to do it.
You can do that one? Thank you. All right. So we've got some end-of-year committee meetings coming up, which will fill our 22nd agenda. The 100-hour volunteer luncheon is on May 23rd, and of course commencement on the 28th. Again, if you haven't RSVP'd to Joe, please do that. And
reminder.
Yep. And then we have 2 board meetings left for this fiscal year, May 22nd and then June 8th. Remember, we only have one in June. So, and we will, as of now, we will not have a work session on June 8th unless something just jumps up and gets us all excited.
June 12th.
June 12th.
Yep.
Oh, I was reading the 8th, the city council, sorry. June 12th is our June board meeting. And there won't be a work session on the 8th or the 12th. So. All right, any other, for the good of the cause, any other communications? Right. We will move on to audience communication. At this time, I will call those who have signed up to speak in order that you've signed up. And we'll acknowledge and receive comments, but we will not engage in a dialogue with the speaker because of the set agenda. Your remarks are limited to 3 minutes per speaker and should be shared in a respectful manner. James Thacker.
Good evening, James Thatcher, Linn-Mar School District President. To give some understanding of why I address and communicate with this board, the state of Iowa is a home rule state. Iowa legislature allows cities and school districts to conduct legislation locally. So we in Cedar Rapids could do things different than other cities, and you as a Linn-Mar board can do things different than other boards or other school districts. That's a good thing. Plus, you're able to address things much faster when you have home rule. However, home rule can be removed when local jurisdiction cause state legislators unnecessary hassles. For example, of course, April 2022, this board caused state unnecessary hassles by passing 50413 policies by not including opposition voices or caring about the 70-plus folks who communicated their dissatisfaction. Things would have been very different had everybody been included. And it walked through, it probably would have been a different policy too. Because the board didn't use wisdom with legislation or local constituents, dissatisfied folks go to their state legislators. The Iowa legislators' recent actions are a direct response to schools' poor public service handling of policies and the public. If we don't like what the legislature is doing, we need to only look in the mirror. Good news for school attorneys and their firms, they're making a lot of money off of these battles, like the one started here at Linn-Mar, and I'm sure there will be more lawsuits now against the state of Iowa. And that's another concern for me, because that's our taxpayer dollars. April 10 of this year, this board voted to adopt another controversial 504 policy. On April 11, I let the board know I was going to state legislators, asking them to advise the board of legal facts involving invasive physical examinations and state law. I personally think that news must have come from a legislator or a legal advisor to the board, because you didn't go through the second vote. That was a good thing, as that wording is a direct violation to Iowa law. I don't believe the board official reason for not conducting the second vote. When the board chooses to take on highly controversial issues, just like us in Cedar Rapids, we took on highly controversial issues also. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort, and you need to be willing to do that to have things come out the right way. When the board approaches major issues with a lack of concern for local constituents, then they're gonna go to state legislators, and when legislators are negatively impacted, the easy solution for the state is to end home rule. Everything then comes from the state level down, you have no options. So I'm wanting to avoid that myself. So that's why I addressed this board. I wanna see us keep home rule. Thank you.
Reverend Gary Sneller.
Hello, I'm Reverend Gary Sneller, parent of 2 daughters who graduated from Linn-Mar High School, taxpayer and co-leader of Stand in Unity, a racial justice and equity, diversity and inclusion faith coalition in our area, and now co-pastor of Marion Christian Church, co-pastor of interim ministry at Marion Christian Church. Growing up in Pella, Iowa in the 1950s and 60s, living in poverty and in a very dysfunctional family, I had 3 safe havens that saved my life. The first one was the public library, where books allowed me to imagine a life and a world beyond poverty and family dysfunction. And yes, I was a precocious child, so I did read some books that some members who frequent these board meetings might consider inappropriate. Sorry, but it didn't hurt me. The second refuge was the church, that taught me that God could love someone even like me, who truly at that time felt very odd and very unlovable. And the third safe haven was my public school, where teachers encouraged in me a thirst for knowledge and also helped shape my thinking and my social relationships. Teachers like Mrs. Dockendorf, my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. DeCook, Mrs. Versteeg, Mrs. Valdez, Mr. Dorenbos, Mr. Dobenecker, Mr. Shiley. These names don't mean anything to you, but they do to me, not only because of what I learned in the classroom, but more importantly because of the relationships that I had with them. You might say that those relationships awakened within me a desire to become a lifelong learner and a better person. My 2 daughters, Sarah and Suzanne, graduated from Linn-Mar High School in the 1990s, so I do not know the names of current teachers in the school district, but I'm sure of this one thing. There are students right now in this school district who will always remember the names of those teachers who had a significant impact on their lives. They may not always remember what the teachers taught them in the classroom, but they'll always remember the relationships that they had with those teachers because those teachers cared about their personal well-being. So I'm here tonight to say thank you. Thank you to Linn-Mar's teachers, all the school administrators and staff, and all the school board members who make public education possible for all students, regardless of who they are and where they come from. Thank you for the valuable learning, but also for the invaluable personal impact that you have had and continue to have on the lives of children and youth
3
in
minutes,
the Linn-Mar
thank you.
School District.
I'll do it. I'll say it.
Thank you. I'm
Every time, it's okay.
Mine too.
It's okay.
I just feel bad. What is it?
Hi, my name is Midhud Mansour. I am a parent and the co-chair for Marion's Alliance for Racial Equity's Education Subcommittee. I'm going to read a letter that we sent to you guys last week. Linn-Mar Community School District Board members, Superintendent Visgard and Associate Superintendent Ware, in recognition of School Board Recognition Month and Teacher Appreciation Week, we extend support of all you and staff do for our public schools, community, and especially our children. A strong public school system benefits us all. We appreciate how you, as a board, continue to promote the best in our school district, recognizing that a successful student is supported in all areas of wellness, including physical, mental, emotional, and social health to benefit each student today and in the future. The decisions you make have impacts across all students, staff, and district success. In these challenging times, we stand in solidarity with parents, students, and community members to continue to encourage accountability, transparency, and engagement in moving forward the district. We support you in your respective roles and will continue encouraging community members to be aware of the important role, influence, and knowledge you have. We encourage community members to be informed and continue to show up and speak up at board meetings to advocate for all students and staff. Thank you for working to promote a district that exemplifies an inclusive, equitable, and safe environment in our public schools where we all feel and belong. Thank you.
Katie Lau Lancaster.
My name is Katie Lau Lancaster. I am a lifelong learner and a resident of the Linn-Mar Community School District. Tonight I want to give thanks for the collective work of all leaders, educators, and all the support staff throughout the district. As members of the school board, I want you here and now to hear our thanks for your gift of time, your gift of encouragement, and your gift of discernment. I want to especially give thanks to our teachers during this Teacher Appreciation Month, to thank all Linn-Mar public schools at all grade levels in all the buildings as the teachers share with us their passion to teach, to build, to encourage, and to release. Their compassion for all of us so we can see, hear, and learn how to extend compassion to our neighbors. Their commitment to learn how to teach us to dialogue, practice, and practice more on how to become members of a community throughout all ages of our growth and our development. I want to thank their patience when we needed more practice, and yet more practice indeed. For the teachers, educators, paras, and staff who take on occasional responsibilities in the districts as coaches, directors, and those in transportation, thank you. And to the specific teachers who now I'd like to call out that have been an impact on my life. Karma Bailey. To this day, she is still my favorite teacher. She knew each child by name in every class, in every grade for decades. Today, I lift her up as the most influential teacher in my life. Mrs. Carol Patterson, who noticed in second grade that I was struggling with learning how to read. Years later, she trusted me with her own infant children to be their care provider on Saturday nights. Mrs. Pantini, who changed lives by asking a lot of questions. She was AP Psych before there was AP Psych. Thankful for Carol Harder, who was our high school counselor, who pulled young leaders together in high school and put upon our hearts that we had a responsibility to be healthy, lifelong learners. And to Coach Weave, you have the love and support of many in this district for generations upon generations. To the entire Linn-Mar leaders, educators, and staff, thank you for your gift of leadership, your teaching, your encouragement, your inspiration to grow as a community, a healthy community for all, loving and caring for all our neighbors. Thank you.
Tiffany DeBow.
Well, thanks, Katie. That's going to be fun to follow. That was amazing. I'm Tiffany DeBow. I'm a parent of 2 kids in the district. I don't have anything prepared. I just wanted to come up as part of Teacher Appreciation Week, School Board Recognition Month. Thank the teachers. I was a stay-at-home mom, and my first child went to kindergarten the year COVID hit. So I was already a mom who's kind of freaking out about the fact that my kid was away from me for 7 hours a day when they were literally with me all the time. And so walking through that and how amazing the teachers were, thinking on their feet, pivoting, trying to help keep them learning when it was such a crazy time where nobody knew what to do, what was going on, what to expect, was amazing. The following fall, he went into virtual learning, so it was really interesting to see how his teacher had taken that on, and that presented its own problems and hurdles, but she handled it with such grace and skill and patience, because those kids hitting that mute button, she handled that so well. So you teachers are absolutely amazing, and you are the keystones of our society, truly. Our society would not be what it is without you, even as far as educated people go, what the society is, or even able to function, which we saw, again, during the pandemic. When you weren't available, people didn't know what to do. So Our teachers are incredibly important. I hope they know here in Linn-Mar how much we love and appreciate them. You as school board members, I want to thank you for taking your time and donating your time and your skills and your, most of all, mental energy, because we all, we see this part. We don't see the rest of it. The time you spend at home on your computers, looking things up, thinking about things. Even if I disagree with you, I appreciate the fact that you are willing to step up, because this is critical work, and Linn-Mar couldn't be what it is without you. So thank you so much for being willing to sacrifice that time and energy and share your skills with us in the community. So thank you so much for your important role, and thank you to the teachers.
Phones.
Good evening, everybody. You may have seen this in the newspaper a few weeks ago. There was an article that reported the NWEA scores on the National History Test. And the headline was a little bit hysterical about the scores being the lowest that they've been ever. And granted, the scores were down some, and the reason these scores were allegedly down, or apparently down, had to do with kids not being in the classroom, which brings up a point that seems to be an ongoing trend in secondary education, and that kids, when it comes to history, aren't doing the newest technology, aren't doing the things that probably they need to have the most experience with, and that technology is called a book. I've had a number of high school history teachers in my grad school cohort. In fact, I've partnered up with some as they've worked on their theses, and I've worked on mine. And the recurring theme is that nobody is using textbooks. Here at Linn-Mar, the history textbooks for the 9th grade American history are more than 20 years old. Now, history does evolve. Interpretations do evolve. You don't necessarily have to have the latest history book every single year, but kids need exposure to that technology called the book, the thing you don't have to plug in, the thing you don't have to look at. They just need to be able to have access to be able to read. And in situations then when you're forced to be at home for whatever reason, you can pick up that book and you know how to read. So I certainly hope that we'll start to see some curriculum changes and reintroduce the idea of the history book back in the class. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you to those who came, spoke this evening. That ends audience communications. I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 6:18. Motion by Rachel and a second by Sandra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Our work session will start, let's just say 6:30 minutes.